So here is the file, and we have this action. And the thing with actions, or is server action, because when you hear action is the prop, but for action to run, it must be passed a function that's called a server action. And maybe what the server action means there is that it would have this signature like this, a previous state, and the form data. The form data is representing whatever information it's getting from the form. And the previous state is going to be null. I think it's going to be null by default, or I think undefined by default, right there. So when you look at this now, this is going to get action. The value of action is going to get it from the form. And so it means that when you look at our form, we must have a particular field called action, right? We must have something called action. So if you look at this here, this is what action, even though it's hidden, but it's this is the particular input that is trying to get, and the value of that input is what? Search, right? So that's why this here at the top will be what? This value here will be search. So if the action is equals to clear, it will run this object and spread this state and remove something. While the action is not that, then it gets the what again? Form data dot get. This is form data is a API in the browser, so it gets the username, changes to string, and trims it out if there is something, and then there's another um, input in that form as well. Use time stack. So if it is true, right, this will become true. So if there is no username, it returns a kind of like, you can see it's returning object. This is the interesting part of, and this object will be returned by, that's what will be returned by that server action. So it means that our form will be able to handle this kind of thing and use it for either validation or to display toast for people to use. So again, so after it has gathered both two things, and if they are available, then you see what it is doing is just returning an object that contains those two information. And that's what the handle GitHub action is doing. Then the submit button as well, because we are using action now, it means that we can get a pending value from this particular hook, and it's only because we are using an action. So with the pending, you can either disable the button so that nobody can send information again, right? And then you can use it also in the styling as well there. And so if it is pending, display searching, else display this. Then also we have this clear button as well, which is to clear certain things out on the page. So here it means that this is that action. This is now the way to use that action at the top. That is, you pass that action to what? Use action state hook. It takes the action and it takes what? The default. So this here is the default, and this is what will be in the previous. So most of the time, if it did not pass anything here, it was, I think it will set this to be undefined, but because I'm setting this, it means that the pre state now, this is my starting point of my state. So it means that this action is just supposed to modify this information. That is, give me maybe if there's a username, or give me some other information. So it means that again, if you look at what the action is returning, the action is supposed to return this. It means that whatever is in previous state, add whatever you are searching, that is the username of the person that we are searching, and tell us whether we're supposed to use stack or not. So if we go back down to here now, so as at this point now, it will it would have, anytime somebody presses submit here, it will run this, and this action state here is the state that will be returned by this thing. The state, we said the state again is object, so it means all the object that will be returned will be saved inside this action state. And then the GitHub action is the function, asynchronous function that you want the form to, and this is the one that you pass to the what? To the form action prop. And this is pending, is a way to also like show pending when a form is trying to submit. And then we have input to hold state value. So when it runs this now and there is a result in this action state, you can see that what we are destructuring action and getting the username and the error. And so if there is a error, then we are also what you are saying that action state dot use stand stack. If this is true, right, it will use stand stack, right? And if this is not true, right there, it will what? It will. I think this should be undefined or something, because this is this operator is a what's again? Question mark again. Two question mark. I've forgotten this one. James. That's not coalescing. Look at me. So not coalescing, right? That is, if yeah, if this is undefined or null, it will use this variable here. But we know that we are setting this use stand stack. Where's this use stand stack coming from? Again, this use stand stack is coming from the use stand stack is coming from I think the use stand stack is coming from this here. It's coming from this state right here. So if you have something for there, it will use or so it's either, so you can see that what it's doing now is that it's either it use the one from whatever our form submitted, or it use the one that is stored in the state. So what the action thing does for the form is just a way for it to carry out some kind of operations, just like you submit a form. But instead of like navigating you to like a new place, after you submit the form, you want the form to go ahead and carry out like an API call or something or make an operation. And that's what actions are like very good for. Right? You want to submit it, and it's the same thing with a search. It's like a search is like you want to hit a API to search if there's to do's there, right? You want to check. So it's like the typing what the keyword of the search is, and then it will sort of like return what the necessary bit of information it's supposed to return. So once it returns that, then we're also using this use effect to clear out the input. Then you have this SWR initiated. That is, this is SWR. It will what use the username variable, right? And the SWR will use the username. SWR will use the username if it's available, and then we have what the transfer. So here we are initiating. We're passing both operations. You can see both username. I'm passing it to the SWR, and I'm passing it to the what the stack. So, but the major thing is I am only just using either one of them. So it means that if the current use is tan stack, then it will just what extract the information from the tan stack. And if it is not tan stack, it will extract the result from what the SWR. And again, this is just to, I mean, the reason why I put both SWR and tan stack is just to show you. So there will be what the user, there will be his loading, there will be his error, there will be refetch. And refetch is a function to fetch that same information again one more time. So when you look at it again, this is the action prop here, right? So anytime they submit this button, anytime they click on submit button, it will call this function, and this function is generated from where the function is generated from what the use action state that you can see on this line, what 114. So I think, I don't know if that makes any sense. So again, the reason why you have this submit button to be a separate component on its own is because we want to also show you that there's a hook called what use form status. That is a hook that helps us to know the status of a form there, and it only works what with an action. So again, you can see again, I also wrapped another declare button in a what in another word form of its own, and then you can have its own action. So the thing again with actions is that actions is just a new way to just carry out like asynchronous operation. I could clear this with another way, but it's just to show you that actions is another way of, instead of using on submit in your on your form, React is favoring action starting from React 19 to 19, as in yeah, React 19 generally. So so when you, let's go to that page again. I think we'll go to Barakat. I think where's Barakat now? So you go to Barakat and you go to the GitHub page here. So here the form has not been called here. So if I type what Yuna here, Yuna is the name of somebody, and I press search. So it means that what the form would be whatever I typed inside this place, and the result of this here we what result of whichever I click here will be sent to what, to the form using the action state. And so when I send this, then it means that it's going to what, use the SWR to calculate my result, and I show this, then it will make the API call and then show me the result. Or if I click on this time stack here, and then it will still do the same thing and show me time stack here. So that's basically what it's doing. And again, you have the ability to what, to refetch the data, and then yeah, you can. So that's what the action is doing. I think if you clear, I think the clear is also using an action again there, just to show you how actions sort of like work.